Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to discuss all the books I purchased recently. It's a book haul. I don't get to do these too often anymore because I've said it so many times, but I'm trying to restrict my buying and how many books I've brought in. So whenever I get to do it, it's kind of a special treat. And I've purchased 15 books in the past 3 months. It's a little more than what I want, just slightly more, like too much. I would be happier maybe like 12, but I have read I think just over half of the books I'm about to haul, so I'm actually going to have an informed thing to say about them for once, and that is definitely an improvement for me, so not too bad. The first book I purchased, I didn't even intend to purchase it. Then my province was on lockdown and I was buying a couple things to assemble for a birthday present, and I felt really dumb with how small my order was from Indigo, so I was like, you know what, let's just buy a book. And Rosewater by Tade Thompson caught my eye. I know Starla Reads really loves this book. They mention it quite often, and especially at the time of me picking this up, I was like, ooh yeah, that sounds pretty interesting, and I'd like to read more sci-fi this year, so why not pick this one up? I think it's set in Nigeria, and in the near future, there's this like mysterious biodome where I think once you enter it, you can't come back out, and we follow like a government agent who's also a former criminal, able to navigate the psychic space created by the dome. He kind of has to go against the grain to figure out what's happening in this dome. It sounds pretty cool. Also kind of is giving me a little bit of vibes of Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, but that's also because I am currently reading it at this point in time. So I'm really interested to give this one a shot. The next book I bought, I think I pre-ordered it. I must have. That's Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is the highly anticipated prequel to The Hate U Give. It follows Star's father, who is on the precipice of teenage fatherhood. He then is confronted with having to be responsible for another life and wants to change and give his son a better life than what he had. And watching his growth was truly a phenomenal thing to read. I love Angie Thomas's writing. I really enjoyed this book. I think I read it in February. Maybe I should just have my 3 wrap-ups linked because that's when I would have read them all. But yeah, this was really great. And if you weren't so sure to read this as a prequel, this book stands on its own in my opinion, and it was a really good read. I kind of forgot how to do book hauls because I don't get to do them so often. I used to be a pro at them. I used to haul all the time, but anyway. This next book was such a joy to read. I bought it right after I read it because I fell in love with it so much, and that's Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I picked this up because House Salt was reading it for their, I think, January live stream, and I got it from my library originally because I wasn't sure I would love it, and boy was I so enchanted by this story. Legendborn follows Bree. She's 16 and ready to get out of her town. Her mother has just recently died in a car accident, and feeling she just wants to get away from. So she goes to this pre-college program on a college campus, and her very first night there, she witnesses a demon attack. She then discovers a secret society based on the lore and magic of King Arthur. I think that's all I want to tell you. This was a joy to read. I reviewed it, so if you're interested, I will leave my thoughts down below. But the second I finished the book, I ordered a copy of it because I loved it so much. This is a standout young adult fantasy novel. I cannot wait to read the next one, and it's killing me that we don't have even a title or a release date for book 2, but I guess I have to patiently wait. This was a joy again to read. It's funny, all these books I have stories behind why I purchased them, and it's going to make this haul very long. I apologize in advance. I finally got my hands on a copy of The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This has been such a difficult book to get my hands on. At the time of me finally getting this book, it had been out of stock on like all major retailers for months. I kept checking, kept looking, out of print, out of print, out of print, and it was driving me nuts. I could have purchased the paperback, but I wanted the hardcover because it's a really nice looking book. And at the time of me purchasing this, we were again on lockdown, and I noticed that my local Indigo had one book, and I put it on hold, reserved it, purchased it in the hopes that they actually had it, and they did, and I finally got it. This is a booktube darling. I'm sure you know what this book is about, and I'm afraid this haul is going to get too long, so I'm just going to move on. But middle grade for adults, or adult middle grade is how this is pitched as. I can't wait to read it. I'm shocked I haven't yet read it. Hopefully in the next few months I get to read it. We're now entering my February purchases. In February I was just feeling real sorry for myself. It was my birthday month, and it was my first quarantine birthday, and it bummed me out more than I thought, so I just treated myself with some books that I'd really been highly anticipating, and these next 4 are the result of that. I purchased The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I have read this book. I really enjoyed it. It is a Russian fantasy inspired world where magical beings and gods kind of walk around among mortals, and our main character basically is trying to keep the old gods alive while a new subsect is kind of coming in, Christianity, and bad things are happening because of weakening faith in the old gods. I really enjoyed this, gave it 4 stars. I can't wait to continue on and read the rest of the sequels. So it's starting to feel like a wrap up because I've actually read a lot of these books. Another book I've read and loved is Ring Shout by Peter Jelly Clark. It's set in 1915. The birth of the nation is sweeping the nation, and it is also cursed or have been corrupted by beings to create Ku Klux monsters. Their plan is to integrate themselves with the ranks of the KKK to take over the world, and our main character is basically at the helm to try and stop this from happening. It's a novella. I almost said perfect, and that's kind of how I feel about it. I love this book. Please pick it up if you like horror, historical stuff going on. Love it. I also decided to grab Spoiler Alert by Olivia. Why? I always think her name is Octavia. It's Olivia Dade. I have not read this, but I'm set to read it this month of April. And it's a romance between 2 fan fiction writers. One, he is an actual actor in a Game of Thrones-esque like fantasy TV series, and he's really upset the direction of where it's going. And she is like a fat cosplayer who also writes fan fiction. They go on a date because she is being like ridiculed on the internet for cosplaying a character and being fat, and romance ensues. I'm really excited for it. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I really hope I do. I'm going to be bummed if I don't. And the last of my I'm pitying myself books is A Lapse Away by Darcy Little Badger. This book is like freaking heavy. It's like a brick. It's solid. But this is a young adult like urban fantasy story. This follows an indigenous main character of, I believe, the Apache tribe, and her cousin has just been murdered, so she goes on this quest to kind of discover what's gone wrong, and I think magic ensues. I've heard literally nothing but amazing things about this story. I'm so excited to read this. I genuinely can't wait. I've been debating between the audiobook and the physical because I think there are a couple illustrations in here at like the beginning of chapters and stuff, but I'm genuinely so excited for this book. Hopefully, again, I read this in the next few months. Oh, I forgot. I actually got to go to a used bookstore somewhat recently. Must have been like middle of March or whatever. And I found 2 things that were both really exciting finds. The first being Beach Read by Emily Henry. I have already read this book. I read it on my Kindle, and I really liked it. It's a romance between like rivals from college. They both are trying to write books, like they're both writers and really struggling with that. So they decide to swap genres, and whoever first can sell their book wins. I really enjoyed my time with it. I was quite enchanted with the book, so when I found it used, I was excited for it. I knew I wanted to own a copy of this eventually, and I found it used, so it was a big old win. On the same trip, I found Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. I've been intending on reading a Juliette Marillier book for years. There are quite a couple of people who are big stands of hers on BookTube, and I know a lot of her books take place and are inspired by Celtic myth. This one I think is based on like the Swan Princess or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but when I saw this, and I know this is a first in one of her series, I had to snatch it up. I'm very intrigued by this book and Juliette Marillier as an author as a whole. I also pre-ordered Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Last Hours trilogy, the one that takes place after the Infernal Devices. I have a kind of spoilery rant if you're interested. I was really disappointed by it, and the bar was so low for this book. I don't expect a lot from these books. I really don't. And was still somehow let down by it. I don't know. If you're interested in my thoughts, I'll leave them linked down below. Everyone knows what this series and world is about, at least somewhat. I'm shocked I haven't read this yet, but Across the Grass Green Fields by Shannon Maguire. This is the 6th book in the Wayward Children series. I also think it's a new entry point into the series if you're interested. All I know about this entry is that it follows an intersex main character, and the world surrounding it is like really good if you're a horse girl. I think like horses, centaurs, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy this series. I'm kind of shocked I haven't read this yet. I'm shocked I didn't purchase it right in January when it came out either, but I know I'll get to it somewhat soon. They're really short. I really like Shannon Maguire's writing. I also found at an Indigo a reduced copy of Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. I know nothing about this book other than I've seen a couple people at one point in time of my time on BookTube really enjoying this series. Yeah, it's set in like a fictional or alternate version of England with magic. And I think maybe possibly a magical competition. I actually went on Goodreads at some point in time. The reviews are quite split on this, so I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm actually going to read a Zen Cho book this month, so hopefully I really like their writing. Hopefully I really like this book as well. I have hopes for it. Another pre-order, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, the 3rd book in the Brown Sisters series. I'm sure you know what this is about if you follow any sort of romance person or person who likes romance on BookTube, but it's just been a delightful series. The 3rd and final book, it follows Eve Brown, who is a hot mess and about to be cut off by her family. They tell her, get a job, Eve Brown. So she gets a job as a chef by hitting the owner of the bed and breakfast with her car. It's really fun. I really enjoyed my time with this series, and I can't wait to read more from Talia Hibbert. Another pre-order. This is interesting. I don't often pre-order books, but a good chunk of them have been pre-orders. Anyway, The Unbroken by C.L. Clark. I read an arc of this, reviewed it, and really enjoyed myself. It's the 1st book in an adult epic fantasy trilogy, and it follows 2 main perspectives. Terrain has been essentially kidnapped and indoctrinated as a child to work for her colonizers and is set to return to her place of birth for the first time and deal with all the implications of that. The other perspective is Luca. She is set to be the queen of this big colonizing nation, but her uncle is refusing to relinquish the crown, and she wants to kind of play ball with the natives to kind of like one up her uncle, to kind of like further her own goals and eventually secure her throne. I loved this book. I gushed about it in my review if you're interested. It was such a good read. Oh my god. Again, this isn't a wrap-up, so I don't have to tell you my whole thoughts on it, but if you love fantasy and discussions of like colonialism and all this stuff with the fantasy treatment, I think this is a great series for you to start and read. I was so impressed by it. This whole time doing this, almost called it a wrap-up, god damn it, this book haul, I have been singing Love Shack, so it's been an interesting experience. It's so weird. This has honestly felt like a wrap-up because I've read a good chunk of these books, and like, who is she? This is not normally what I'm doing, but I'm not mad at it. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of any of the books I've mentioned here today, And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.